If OSHA walked in right now, they came in your front door, would you know what documents you need? Would you be prepared? Would you have your hands on the items that they're asking for? Well, in this episode, I'm going to talk about the 5 documents that every safety manager should be able to grab quickly in case of an OSHA inspection. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you something OSHA doesn't care about at all that people tend to spend way too much time working on. So stick around because that's something that I wish I had known when I was a safety manager. Let's jump in. Well, hey, friend, my name is David Sawyer. I'm a safety coach. I help busy managers that have been put in charge of safety. I help them go from feeling overwhelmed to OSHA ready. I want you to feel calm, confident, and have peace of mind that safety is taken care of. And honestly, a lot of safety managers don't feel that way. They feel like they're under pressure. They feel frustrated. They feel like they're alone and they need help and they don't even know where to start. They don't know what they don't know. So my friend, if that is you, stick around because in this episode, I'm going to talk about the 5 documents that you got to put your hands on in the event of an unexpected OSHA audit. And speaking of an unexpected OSHA audit, you also can go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and you can access a free checklist. This is a free OSHA audit checklist. It's the best place to start. It is your starting point. Go there, access the checklist. It's not just a PDF. It's actually a video where I walk you through the different things you need to have in place to prepare your team for an unexpected OSHA audit. So it's a great first step. If you're new to safety, if you're a new safety manager and you feel like, I don't really know where to start here. This is the place to start. It will help you be able to have a meeting with your management to identify some of the key things you need to have in place. It walks through the standard OSHA audit framework. You see, they don't reinvent the wheel. They do it the same way every time. So if you know the framework, if you know what to expect, man, you're light years ahead of so many people. So go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and access the free OSHA audit checklist. It is well worth your time. Now, let's talk about the 5 documents that you have to be able to put your hands on. Now, if you're new to safety, this might come as a surprise, but they typically are looking for things in a certain order. So I'm gonna give you kind of the big framework, and then we'll work off of that. OSHA usually looks for 5 things. These aren't the documents, but these are kind of like 5 things they're looking for in this order. So when they walk in the door, they want to see injury records, then they want to see written programs, then they want to see training documentation, then they want to see hazard identification, and the last thing they look for is corrective actions. So let me say those again just to kind of get our mind around them. The first thing they're looking for is your accident logs. So that's going to be your injury records, your OSHA 300 logs. Then they're going to be looking at written programs. From there, they expand out to training documentation because you have your written program. You should be training your people on your written program. So those are the top 3. After those, then they start looking for, does your safety program have meat on the bone? They want to know, do you have a hazard assessment? Have you done PPE hazard assessments? Have you done JSA's, job safety analysis? Do you have other documents to show you're being proactive with safety? And then the last thing they look at is they look at corrective actions. Meaning somebody got seriously hurt. What did you do about it? How did you correct the hazard? Did you eliminate the hazard? Did you replace it with something better? Did you provide training? Did you provide new equipment? Did you provide new PPE? How did you correct the problem so nobody gets hurt next time around? So those kind of the 5 big overarching, this is what OSHA's looking for when they come in the door. So let's start with the first one. You remember the first one? Yeah, you got it. Accident logs. So these are your injury records. So every facility has to keep up with recordable accidents. Recordable accidents are accidents that go beyond first aid. Usually they require work restrictions or lost time. They might be stitches. They might be prescription medication. They went to see a doctor and they got taken out of work or they got restrictions for work. These are recordable accidents. These are going to be listed on your OSHA 300 log. So if you're new to safety, there's a log that you have to keep that shows all the accidents that happened for that year. So you got this year, and you got last year, and then you got a few years before that. You're required to keep the last 5 years of OSHA logs. So when OSHA comes in, they're going to ask for this year, and don't make the mistake so many new people make as they say, we haven't had an accident this year. That's fantastic. I still got to see your log. Still got to have a log ready to go with nothing on it. Just the name of the company and the year at the top says whatever the year at the top is. Now, last year, you should have an injury log, and you should also have a 300-day summary. So that summary is a summary of the log. So if you had, 9 accidents, well, that summary is going to tell you the specifics of the accidents, meaning I had 9 accidents. 3 of them were lost time accidents. 2 of them were restricted accidents. The rest of them were just regular injuries that qualified as something beyond first aid, but it goes on the log. The summary is also going to have your total hours worked for that year, which usually is not going to be something the safety manager knows, where I have to go and ask somebody for that. And it'll have your average number of employees. Has to be done per location. So I've done a separate video on this. If you're curious about how to fill out your OSHA logs and summary, have that, or you can check that out. But just make sure that you have these within grasp. It's the first thing they're going to ask. I can guarantee you, I don't care where you are, where you work, when OSHA comes in the door, they want to see this year's OSHA 300 log. And they also want to see the last 5 years. So have them accessible. And as a little pro tip, make sure they're digitized so that you can send them or email them if you need to. That's important as well. So the very first thing is OSHA logs. OSHA logs. Now, the second document you got to put your hands on. This is more than one, but they're going to ask for specifics. It's going to be your written safety programs. Now, some of the most common standardized written safety programs: hazard communication. That's dealing with all the chemicals you work with. Lockout, tag out, control of energy, right? So that's one of them. Emergency action plan, fire prevention, evacuation. Sometimes those are lumped together, sometimes they're individual, but you're going to have something that talks about your fire extinguishers, something that talks about your evacuation, something that talks about severe weather. Your emergency action plan is kind of the heart of your safety programs. Then you're going to have PPE safety program. You're going to have specialized programs like respiratory protection if you have respiratory or breathing hazards. You could have a hearing conservation program if you have hearing noise hazards. Powered industrial trucks, very common to have a forklift safety program. So your written programs are going to be specific to the hazards at your facility. Now, look, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You can go on AI and you can say, write me a program, and it will write you a program. And some of them are pretty good, but I can guarantee you they're not going to be site specific unless you give and feed that AI some of the information about your organization. So be cautious with getting these generic programs that are just being spit out by AI. You want to make sure your program actually fits what you do, and make sure that you have the leadership, the roles, and the responsibilities filled out, and that you got the right people being trained and certified. So that program kind of is the document that you're going to use to provide training. So that's the second thing, is written programs. OSHA is going to ask for those, and typically they're going to ask for the program based on what they see. So if they walk out in your facility and they see a bunch of machinery, they're going to go, there should be a lockout tagout program. And then with that, there might be machine-specific procedures that go with that. So you got to keep in mind, sometimes A plus B equals C. Sometimes they follow the rabbit down the hole, and you want to be prepared for that. The third thing, once I got the written programs, they're going to be asking for training. Did you actually communicate this program to the people? If you have people that are authorized and certified to drive your forklifts, have they been through a training class? Is their training up to date? Powered industrial truck, you got 3 years. Lots of other trainings are usually done annually. They might not necessarily be required annually, but typically companies are going to provide them annually because you're going to have other things that pop up. So training records are something you want to keep. You want to make sure you get your hands on it, where you can find it, you can prove it, you can show you're doing something with that. I won't go in the weeds too much on this, but you can have different categories of employees. Your maintenance guys might have more hands-on, right? They might be confined space trained. They might be trained on respirators. They might be trained on lockout, tagout, or hot work. They might be authorized, but the average Joe out in the plant is just getting an awareness level training. So again, site specific. We want to make sure we're addressing the hazards at your company, and we're being clear about it. Now, the fourth document, get your hands on injury investigations. Now, this is not going to be out of the blue. Typically, when OSHA walks in and they ask for an investigation report, it's because you had a serious accident. So if you have an eye injury, an amputation, and hospitalization, you have to notify OSHA within 24 hours. And that sends up a big flag, and then OSHA will contact you, and they'll either write you a letter, or they'll give you a phone call, or they just show up at your door. They say, hey, we heard you had a serious accident. You had a few people that were put in the hospital. We're going to do an audit. We're going to investigate what happened here, and we want to see your investigation. We want to know what you found when you did your investigation. So typically that doesn't just come out of the blue. They're following up because there's already been a problem, and they want to know, did you correct the problem? What kind of corrective action did you put in place? They don't want to see employee needs to be more careful. That doesn't help. They want to see something that actually fixes the problem so that nobody gets hurt in the future, which is a good thing. That's why we got OSHA. That's why they can be the good guys in some cases. Now, the fifth thing we want to get our hands on is a hazard assessment. So PPE hazard assessments, JSA, job safety analysis. This is a type of training where you understand the hazards associated with the job. A PPE hazard assessment, you understand this is the gear that people need to be wearing. Hazard assessments are a way to be proactive. They're a way to show your safety program isn't just reacting to accidents that happened, but you're actually being proactive. You're improving your training and your PPE and your equipment so that you're protecting your people. Now, let me go back and give you the big overview, because we hit these 5, and I'll go ahead and mention them one more time. But usually there's a rhyme and a reason to it. So the first one is you got to have your OSHA logs. They're always going to be asking for that. The second one is your written programs. The third one is training records to show you actually trained your employees on the written programs. The third one is injury investigations. Again, that's usually specific to something that happened. And the fourth one is being proactive with a hazard assessment. Now, you might go, David, that was a lot of information. And it was. But you need to have your hands on it. Now, one of my favorite sayings comes from my mentor, somebody that I learned this 20 plus years ago. He said, David, how do you eat an elephant? I said, what are you talking about? You eat it one bite at a time. If you are new to safety, if you're a manager that you didn't sign up for this, right? They just handed you the hat and they said, oh, congratulations, you're the new safety coordinator. You're the new safety manager. Take a deep breath. You can do this. You don't need more information. You need a system. You need a system to clarify where to focus your attention. You can't react to everything. I gave you a lot of information just now, and the worst thing you can do is go, you know what? I'm not going to do anything because that sounds too complicated. Just take one small bite at a time. One small bite at a time. I would recommend the go-to thing right off the bat, go to your accident logs. Check this year. Make sure you got this year ready to go. Make sure you got the last 5 years, just taking it year by year, understanding it. That will give you a lot of information about where people get hurt and help you be more proactive instead of reactive. So that would be step one. Look at your OSHA logs and kind of get a better feel for that. I want to tell you the thing that I led this video off with. I said, if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you how people waste their time that OSHA doesn't really care about. Pretty binders, programs, pretty font. They don't care about that stuff. You can have a beautiful formatted safety program, right? You got it in color. You got pictures. You got all kinds of pretty font. It looks fancy. It looks professional. They don't care about that. Now listen, you want to be professional. Let me say that. But they want the content to fit your organization. And that's where so many safety managers get mixed up because they copy other people's stuff. They take a safety program they found online. They change a few words here and there. They put something into AI and they get something back and it's garbage. Don't focus on how pretty something is and how formatted it is. Make sure the content matches your company. Then you can go back and say, okay, it matches the company. Now I want to find any gaps. Am I meeting the OSHA standards? Am I meeting the compliance standards? That's a big one. If this episode has resonated with you, if you're like, man, David is speaking my language, trust me, I've been where you are, and it can be frustrating. It can feel lonely. You can feel like I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what to do next. You don't need more information. You don't need more training modules. You don't need more certifications. What you need is a plan. Go to my website. Check out the link for stress-free safety. Check out stress-free safety workshop. And in that, I unpack the method, the process that I use with my clients to take them from overwhelmed to OSHA ready. You can do this. You can knock it out of the park. You can be a very successful safety manager even if this was never the plan, right? You never signed up for safety, but you got it anyway. You can do this. You need a structured plan. And the best next step is to check out my stress-free safety workshop. So on that note, I'll let you guys get back to work. Thank you so much for your time today. Do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe because no one should get hurt at work.